Hello. I've been doing some thinking about the different categories of men that have cropped up over the years. There's quite a few of them, and like in any social cultural dynamic, there's a certain us and them situation that naturally comes with it. In this video, I want to talk about why the MGTOW is the highest of these various labels. I want to preface this discussion with where I'm coming from. I would be described as an AWM, or awakened while married. I've been married for about um, I guess 7 years. Honestly, I rarely remember when it happened, since I tend to block out bad memories. Anyway, I was awakened to the freedom that I had had at my disposal during my single life before getting locked up. So, here I sit, awakened, red pill completely digested, the rage has subsided, and now I'm trying to figure out what to do. I consider myself a MGTOW in spirit, but alas, one simply cannot be MGTOW in mind only. One must not only be aligned with the philosophy, but also be physically capable of living it out. I am not MGTOW, but I hope to be so before I die. So that's who I am, categorically speaking. I've ingested quite a bit of MGTOW philosophy and come up with some of my own. And I hear a lot of public criticism about how the tradcons think MGTOW are Peter Pan Lost Boys, overly excitable alpha males think MGTOW are true force loneliness weaklings who just need to get laid, mainstream comedians and triggered pussies think MGTOW are just the male version of feminism. The outside criticism never ends. Well, they are all completely wrong. This video is about why they're wrong, what they will never understand, and why MGTOW are the Western culture's version of the enlightened ones. Sure, there's a lot of criticism out there, and that's okay. It's fine, honestly. Let them talk. The criticism is like hearing a woman call mathematics or physics stupid. I mean, she says that because she's ignorant. So she makes herself feel better by belittling something that is simply inaccessible to her. She's a moron, and morons are not to be taken seriously. Belittling is a standard tactic that small-minded people use. The criticism of MGTOW should be expected, and perhaps even welcomed. When people criticize it, they are showing their hand, declaring publicly that they have weak minds. They're holding a sign up that states, "I am ignorant, please ignore me." So today I'm going to describe the flaws in the various branches of masculinity. Now, be aware, I'm not making this video as a hit piece on non-MGTOW. We men are one body politic and are subject to the same general problems, whatever personality or label we display. But I see all non-MGTOW minded men as outsiders. Any man who hasn't fully understood what MGTOW is really about simply isn't on the same page. And again, that's okay. It only takes one life event to wake a man up to society's reality. But until that happens, they are in the matrix, so to speak, living the lie society has written for them. MGTOW have gone their own way, and live under no such pretense. Essentially, MGTOW are exclusionary because they have one common thread that binds them. They are all outsiders, and they all speak the same language. One MGTOW can say to another, "Fuck bitches," and the other MGTOW will immediately get what they're talking about. See, I've always seen the mind as the ultimate identity. It is the mind which really defines us. Your money, car, musculature, cancer diagnosis, bum leg, or anything else must be boiled off to really see who the person is. You can have a rich, successful, powerful robot, but what is that thing? It's a computer you can buy off the shelf at Best Buy. Humans are their minds. A MGTOW's mind sets him apart. He's the quintessential outsider, and as such, all societal insiders are excluded from the conversation until they finally get it. Until they get it, they can't be MGTOW. They simply aren't on the same page. As such, this is why all non-MGTOW will always be outsiders to the MGTOW community. Non-MGTOW aren't excluded from the conversation because they're less or not in the club. They simply don't get it. I can understand why some MGTOW look at others claiming the label and say, "He's not a MGTOW." For example, say a MGTOW, we'll call him Dan, is talking about how men need to go their own way because women aren't like they used to be. You know, cooking and cleaning, loyal to their man, all that shit. Another MGTOW, we'll call him Dave, pipes up and says, "Dude, you aren't a MGTOW." He said that because Dan doesn't sound like he gets it yet. Dan thinks MGTOW is about what kind of women are available. Dave knows it doesn't matter. Women are very different than they used to be, sure, but the entire system is corrupted. It's a huge equation. There is no way to win in society. Go your own way because why play a game which you know for a fact is designed to make you lose? And again, this is just one part. There are many parts. My point is that MGTOW is far more than a simple choice one makes. It is the pinnacle of masculinity. It is what every man should aspire to. So understand, I'm not bashing non-MGTOW here. I'm going to try to show what makes MGTOW the absolute end for the debate about what masculinity really is. I want to describe why I think MGTOW is the highest order of man. So let's describe some male labels. I'm going to start with alpha males. You know the ones. They're often boisterous and charismatic. Usually, from what I observe, they put great emphasis on their appearance and muscular development. They often consider women to be the prize to win in social situations, and are often trying to have many bedroom exploits to brag about. They're usually extroverted and not very introspective. They're quick to criticize and never accept or internalize criticism. If they're criticized, they just brush it off and attack the person right back. Most of all, they exude confidence and may be seen as having fragile egos, since they often attack criticism immediately. They're often considered to be the quintessential male. They're strong and often targeted by industrious women since they're seen as a great catch. They set the rules, or so the story goes. Now, these men have a lot going for them. The confidence is a huge asset, and they often have built very powerful bodies which are capable of many feats of strength. They walk around like they're ready to fight. They act fearless. They're often the men who succeed in this gynocentric society. Why? I think they succeed because women like them. If women don't like you, or you don't have a shit ton of money, you're fucked as far as society is concerned. Alpha males are the life of the party, and women never try to get them fired or arrested, probably because they hope to have a chance to get pregnant by them. The alpha male skates through life seemingly without resistance. He always seems to win. Now, what is his major flaw? Women. The alpha sees no problem with women. It's like he never grew out of puberty. He sees women as an occupation or hobby, perhaps a sport. He always needs a new lay, or he considers protecting women to be a prime directive. I think those pickup artists have this alpha male mindset. They talk big and live fast. But what do they spend their whole lives doing? They certainly aren't developing their minds. They're too busy seeking out women. I see an alpha male, and I see a man dripping with pussy juice. In my job, I've seen a lot of pussy, but I'm usually wiping shit out of it, or inserting a urinary catheter, maybe obtaining a sample from a pustule since the physician thinks she may have herpes. Yeah, pussies can be fucking nasty. And the smell. Don't get me started on the smell. Now, if I'm turned off by pussy, the alpha male may call me a pussy. That's okay. He can say what he wants. Have you ever had to clean out a 5-day-old clotted tampon with pus and blood and infection leaking out around it? Fuck you, motherfucker. Anyway, like I said, the mind is what makes us what we are. If you're an alpha male, you are pussy whipped. No, you may not do as you're told and say how high when she says jump, but you've made pussy your whole life. You can't imagine a life without it. Sex is fine and all, but alpha males are consumed by it. They can't escape it. They're weak-minded, and pussy is the reason. Moving on, let's talk about traditional conservatives, or tradcons. These are usually blue pill men with strong religious beliefs. They like the system. They have this little game they think they can win. They think if only we can get women to be more conservative and less slutty, things will get back to the way they were supposed to be. They love systems. Usually this is a happy family man, or at least he thinks everyone should be a family man. They want everybody to get back on the plantation, because if everyone just follows the system like it's supposed to be, everything will be great. Men will have the power and be respected, and women will know their place. Remember the good old days when women kept their legs closed? Men spoke using old English phrases, and everyone went to church on Sunday. Gotta love a good system, right? Fuck me in the eye with a screwdriver. Their flaw is obvious. I imagine most MRA are in this category. While they're pining away about the good old days and trying to lobby Congress to uphold religious values and talking about the virtues of chastity, feminists are busy getting hiring quota legislation passed. Tradcons don't even realize they lost the game a long time ago. At this point, it's like voting for the opposition candidate in Iran. You think your vote counts? Ha! Tradcons will hear MGTOW talking about how women have fucked this world, and they'll start talking about how MRAs are trying to change things, or how women are really good. It's the bad women we gotta worry about. A MGTOW will look at this guy like he's wearing a dunce cap. The Tradcon thinks MGTOW need to get back on the reservation and help fight the good patriotic fight to get the plows moving again. MGTOW are long gone by then, and the Tradcon is sitting there talking to himself. There's nothing to fix when a perfectly oiled machine is designed to fuck us over. Tradcons need to wake up to today's reality. Next, TFL. These are known as true forced loneliness, so they're often called TFLers. These men often try to latch on to MGTOW as a label, but they often fall away. I don't know any of these guys personally, but from what I've heard, they come to MGTOW forums or video comments sounding like they're red pill raging. Women have given them a bum deal, and they can't get laid, so they take a stand by swearing off women. So there! I don't know a whole lot of guys that actually bear this label publicly, but you can usually tell who they are by the character of the comments. Rarely will they talk about anything but how women suck, and they usually don't go the distance, if you will. They just rant. Honestly, I feel for these guys. They're even worse off than the Tradcons. Not only do they want to fit into the system, but they've decided to live in the system, even though they've lost the system. They're often miserable. I mean, all they want to do is find a soulmate or companion, but they've had no luck, so they sulk or walk around with a chip on their shoulder. I imagine they eventually wake up and go MGTOW, but it's gotta be miserable having no hope, yet still following the rules. Next on the list, we have Simps and White Knights. I'll call them SWKs. I'm not going to spend much time on them, since this is a group I truly despise. They are the problem. They're the reason feminists have the power that they do. They're the pussy apologists. Without the SWKs, women would fail every time. Women can't hold the line in a public debate with feminist rhetoric without having male reinforcement. If we could get the SWKs to shut the fuck up and die, women would have no power whatsoever. But alas, the SWKs are numerous. In fact, the majority of men are under this label. They're simply following the biological imperative to protect the bitch. Politicians always act as SWKs because they know the voters always side with women. If they would get the fuck out of the way, feminists would crumble under male opposition to their accumulated power. They are the problem, SWKs. Not much to say here. Finally, we have the blind, deaf, and dumb men. And I'm speaking in terms of social awareness. These, and there are many of these, don't really care. These are the guys that are on their fourth marriage, spending the majority of their salaries on alimony and child support payments, and don't even realize that there's a problem. These are the young guys that got a girl pregnant, joined the army to pay the bills, left the army to work for a car dealership, and just go on about life. I think one of these guys' name was Doug Talby. Anyway, these are the guys that society depends on to just shut up and do as you're told. Pussy whipped would also define their behavior. They have no soul, it seems. They just go to work, go home, go to work, go home, go to work, go home, and then they die. They might as well have not lived at all. They never develop their mind or grow. They simply follow the rules and do as they're told, without ever even considering something might just be wrong. It's a very, very sad situation. So there are the general categories of men. I'm sure I might have missed a few, but it works for this discussion. Now, what makes MGTOW so different? Consider each of the former categories: Alpha, Tradcons, TFL, SWK, the blind, deaf, and dumb. You can see their obvious mental flaws. They lack self-perspective or awareness. They lack far-distance vision. They don't see the obvious problem. They can't see the pattern developing. MGTOW see it as clear as the sun. Here's a little story to illustrate this. Imagine you're at a casino. You're at the roulette wheel with a group of guy players. Everyone has a system of betting. You start out betting black. 50-50 shot, right? You're about even, and you stay that way all night. This one guy is really charismatic and seems to win constantly. He's got a big chip stack. Another guy is using a system religiously, it seems, and not winning much. And you can overhear him blame the new wheel. If only they would just go back to the old style wheel, I know I could win, he says. Another guy can't get the waitress to notice him, to give him a beverage for like 4 hours. So by the 5th hour, when she finally sees him, he holds up his handful of white chips and says, "Fuck you, bitch. I guess you aren't getting a tip. Ha 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 ha." As she shrugs and walks away, he looks down at his small chip stack and starts crying a little, angry and frustrated. He blames his bad luck on his chip color. Meanwhile, next to him, this guy is betting and losing more than he's winning. But he's constantly scolding the other players for blaming the wheel or the dealer. "It's not the dealer's fault, asshole. It's you. Don't be rude." Finally, the last guy that you're playing with, next to you, is sitting quietly with a smile on his face. He pulls out his last dollar and loses. He puts his drink down to save his seat, goes to the ATM, and returns with more of his money. "How you doing there, guy?" you ask. You had seen him make the ATM trip multiple times that night. "Oh, I'm great. Just one more roll and I just know I'll get lucky." He pulls in his new stack of chips that the dealer hands him, and places about half of them on 5. After the roll, the dealer promptly pulls the chips back in. "Well, shucks," he says. "That's okay. My time will come." You sit and play black, and watch as this display continues for another couple hours. You think to yourself, this is retarded. The house has the advantage. I know the longer I play, the more likely I am to lose. Why am I still playing? You throw a stack on black and win. You're now up a little bit for the night. You pull your winnings in and cash out. As you're walking away, you look back at the roulette table and shake your head. Now, imagine those same players play the exact same way for the rest of their lives. They win and lose at times, but they always end up losing in the end. Meanwhile, you take your winnings and walk out of the casino for the last time. You meet other guys that have walked away from the casino. Some of them have lost their money in a big bet. Others have done really well. Some have broke even, like you. Some owe the casino from huge gambling debts and will probably never get to keep their full paycheck ever again. But every one of you knows it's a losing game and have no interest in ever going back. This is kind of like what MGTOW was like. MGTOW recognizes the game as a whole. Sure, winning is fun and exciting. You get a high from getting a big win. But you recognize the game as a whole is against you, and you've decided to stop playing. You go off and maybe play the stock market. Winning in stock trading is similar to the feeling you get in games of chance, but the system isn't designed against you. It's a different game altogether. Every MGTOW sees the casino of society for what it is. They don't think it can be fixed, somehow, or that there's just one flaw which, if they avoid it, or find that one lucky chip to hold on to, the flaw can't hurt them. Finally, why are MGTOW the pinnacle of masculinity? Every man who hasn't gone his own way is owned by the system in some way. They depend on something for sustenance. The alpha depends on pussy or recognition. The tradcon holds on to that hope that one of these days the plantation will work for him, and he can't imagine a life without his precious system. The TLFeller is, well, he relies on the system in sort of a backwards way. Deep down, he holds out hope that he'll fit in one day, but for his own sanity, he's found self-esteem by swearing off women. But if he leaves the system, he won't get the chance to win. He's basically in denial, but can't break the habit. SWKs depend on the system to give them a sense of self-worth. Standing up for women is almost an imperative they feel that they're required to act on, and women depend on them for their support. There's a symbiosis which SWKs find necessary. And of course the deaf, dumb, and blind, well, they're just happy to be there. MGTOW, however, stand on the top of Mount Self-Determination. They have no needs or ties to any system. You meet a MGTOW, you're interacting with the most powerful individual in the manosphere. They can't be brought down by shaming or suggestion. They know who they are. Period. They don't need you or your compliments. They don't need love, affection, or anything, though they enjoy it when it's there to be had. You can't bring a MGTOW down. He's free of you and everything else. He has reached enlightenment, and you can't understand it. Sure, he has needs like everyone else: food, money, sexual release, exercise, etc. But things other men rely on from the system. He doesn't need it. And he's the only man who doesn't need it. Some MGTOW are young and inexperienced. They may react to the suggestions of society. But as he grows and follows the MGTOW path, he will tear away those chains of identity which have defined him. Finally, the elders, the MGTOW monks. These men have achieved what we all aspire to: total and final freedom of mind. They need nothing whatsoever. They have wants, but not societal needs. Some have called the MGTOW monk the cave dwellers, or the MGTOW who live by themselves, or whatever. I see it differently. The whole point of going MGTOW is to achieve freedom from societal enslavement. To take the red pill and exit the matrix once and for all. The matrix provides you with what you need. But when you leave the matrix, you still feel you need what society offered you. Monks have achieved a higher level of enlightenment. They have learned to meet their own needs, and no longer even consider society's enslavement as an option. The plantation is a distant memory, and they are far along the MGTOW path. They are utterly independent, and couldn't return to the slave quarters if they wanted to. They have spent their time in deep contemplation. They have a deep understanding of the nature of the human condition, and have reached a level of satisfaction those on the plantation couldn't even begin to imagine. MGTOW are the highest order of men, and monks are the elders. All MGTOW are on this higher plane. They could be your CEO, accountant, the trash man, fireman, your doctor, your cab driver. You won't know who they are until you speak to them. They are the enlightened ones. They have reclaimed the freedom we all had before societal indoctrination. None of them are the same, nor do they recite a memorized mantra, but they're all on the same mental plane. They don't belong to any club, and this is what makes them members of the MGTOW order. No, society doesn't understand MGTOW. Only a MGTOW can understand another MGTOW. Necessarily, MGTOW will be shunned or shamed by society. After all, MGTOW represent the most dangerous thing to any societal construct: independence. They could bring the entire system down, and personally, I think it's only a matter of time. MGTOW is freedom, and men want to be free. But freedom is uncomfortable, dangerous, and uncertain. It's filled with adversity. But it's this adversity which hardens the man, strengthens his resolve to stand up under harsh winds of disdain. Only a MGTOW can see the world as it is, not as it was defined to be. All the insults in the world from a slave won't change a free man. And that's why society's castigation of the outsiders will be like throwing rocks at a boulder. Listen to a MGTOW speak, and you have just observed a free man from your jail cell window. Observe a MGTOW, and you have just witnessed destiny. They are the highest order. They won the game when they rewrote the rules. Come and join them, and see what the world is like on the outside. Until you do, you will never even know what freedom feels like. And once you know, going back to prison isn't even an option. Thanks for listening.